I was still a full-time police officer, but I was still working part-time on the ambulance. How many of you in here in EMS have more than one job? Interesting. And we find that across the country. It was like 5:30 in the morning. They dispatched us for a little old lady having, the way it was dispatched was her pacemaker's failed. Like, okay. So we go pick her up. She's like 75 years old. So her daughter's like 50-something and wanted to ride to the hospital. Common. No big deal, right? I'm looking for this. If you had a daughter wanting to ride to the hospital, okay. So we get them loaded up. We're heading to the hospital. No big deal. Everything's fine. All of a sudden, dispatch comes across, and I can hear it on the radio, them asking us to stop and check on a body in the ditch. My partner asked me, and I said, my patient's stable. Yes, we can stop and we can do a quick assessment. So I feel the ambulance slow, and as I do, I can look up through the hole, sit on the bench seat. It's a brand new Type 3, one of the minivans, and I look up through there, and I can see, sure enough, blue jeans and a white t-shirt, and the guy's face down in the ditch. So we were traveling northbound. We were taking our patient to Jeff City, to the hospital, and we turned around, and as he pulls now southbound, we are on the northbound shoulder facing southbound. Makes sense? Because he did a quick U. This is, again, now by maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. The sunlight's just barely breaking, and so we're facing southbound. I apologize to the patient. I'm like, ma'am, I'm sorry. It's going to take us a couple minutes, and we'll be right on our way. It's good customer service, right? About that time, the back doors open up, and immediately I can smell it. What do you think I'm smelling? Right? So I tell my partner, and I'm like, whoa, because he's just letting this guy get up in the back of the truck. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let him have a seat there on the bumper and call him a ride. Who are we calling? Does everybody agree that that's the thought that came to your mind? Okay, so no big deal. So the door's shut. I again apologize and let you know we'll be right on our way. So I hear the door chime. Boom, boom, and I look up, and an African-American arm is putting our ambulance in drive. My patient is Caucasian. I'm sorry, my partner was Caucasian. My patient was Caucasian also. So we now start heading southbound and northbound lane of US 63. I'm a full-time policeman, still working part-time on an ambulance. I own my own martial arts school, and I'm the creator of DT4EMS. Do you think at any point in time I had any training for this? So, what do?
Follow them on the radio.
Great. The trooper is 35 minutes away. He's coming from Jeff City. Great. You are now southbound, guys, in the northbound lane of US 63, which is probably similar to what, 47 or something like that. I mean, it's a big highway.
Tuck and roll.
Huh? Okay, great. You've got a lady in the passenger seat. All right. Do you see what I mean? This is what we're all about, is trying to make a difference in your brain ahead of time. Because what if? Nobody told me, what if this happened to me? Well, I'll tell you what I did. I dove through the hole, and I'm now outstretched, because you know how the little thing is like this, right? It's not huge in a mini-mod. So I'm outstretched like this, and I'm throwing the ambulance up in park, and it's doing that, right? It finally goes in park, the guy starts wrapping me in the jaw. My first thought was, my daughter hits harder than you, because again, I was kickboxing all the time, but then I was mad. Because then my next thought was, I'm going to kill him. So, outstretched on my knees, with this hand on the gear shift, he's now wrapped his hand around mine, trying to get it back into drive. I try to chop him in the throat, but of course, anybody that knows anything about striking whatsoever, it's just like hitting a baseball. Does the power come from here, or where does it come from? The hips. So, I'm like this. Can I hit him hard? No. So I try to chop him in the neck. Literally, I'm going for his throat, because this is a life or death situation, is it not? Yeah. Okay. So I try to chop him in his throat, and he just braces his shoulder, which anybody would do. So the next thing I'm doing is trying to claw his face and his eyes, as I'm trying to pin his head up against the back of the seat. I start screaming at the lady in the passenger seat to shut off the ignition. Sounds like a good plan, right?
Yeah.
Guess what she does? I have never had anybody say that. Actually, so here's what she does. Lord Jesus, hallelujah. And starts praying out loud. Not a joke. Why do you think she's praying?
She thinks she's going to die.
She thinks she's going to die. So here's the deal. So I've got this guy, I'm clawing in his face. I've got this up, and I'm screaming at her, shut off the ignition, shut off the ignition. And the part, the cool thing about being a policeman at the time was that I learned later how to disconnect this from this, because my thought was, ma'am, if Jesus were here, he himself would shut off the ignition. But I didn't say it, see? Hence the reason I was able to stay employed.
Yeah.
But the difference being then, so now my partner comes running down, he comes into the passenger side and tries to crawl over this lady. I'm screaming at him to get around to the other side. So he comes around to the other side, he reaches through, he shuts off the ignition. And I go, get this mother... So, because again, I'm clawing the dude's face, right? His hand is wrapped around my hand, which is still in the gear shift. I'm clawing his face, and I'm going, jerk this motherfucker out of here. He grabs him by the feet, pulls this dude's feet out, the dude's head hits the floor, hits the running board, and hits the ground. I hear the fight bell. Ding, ding! And out through the front of the truck I go. So he's now on the ground, and I start to go on. And then all of a sudden, force levels enter into my brain, which we're going to teach you about during this class. So all of a sudden I go, whoo! I had to put the brakes on. Being an alpha male, I turn around and I go, did the next best thing, because I can't hit him now. So I go, get up! Get the bleep up! And I didn't say bleep. But I was like, get the bleep up! Prove you're a man. He looks up at me, quote, he goes, why y'all going crazy? Oh. Now, did any of you, besides Graham, know about that story?
No.
That happened in Missouri. It made page 7 of Jefferson City's newspaper in a little bitty blurb about this big. What would have happened? What would have happened if that happened in my police car? Would the news media all across the country pick that up? See? See? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If that would have, God bless him, everybody would have been upset. What crimes did this guy commit? Tell me the crimes he committed.
Assault.
So, a carjacking. What else?
Probably assault on your partner.
Assault.
Kidnapping?
Kidnapping. How many counts of kidnapping?
3.
3, 4?
3. His partner was still outside the truck. What happened to him? Anybody know? Right? So all this is going on. I'm like, did he get stabbed? Was he, pushed in front of traffic? What happened? Right? So long and short of this whole thing is nothing. Or the guy was charged with DWI and misdemeanor assault. But in Missouri, it's the same law as assaulting a police officer. It is you now. But that law didn't exist until 2005. Many states have an enhanced penalty. So you see, that's what took a hobby, which started with guys going, hey Kip, how do you get out of this move? Hey Kip, how do you get out of that move? And I show them because they knew I was a policeman. They knew I was a police law enforcement defense and tactics instructor and martial artist. So they'd ask the question. And then I'd go, well, here you go. Well, so I decided, wait a minute, there's more to that than this. We have to show them how it led up to this before we teach escape moves, so that you can maybe stop it from happening. Because I'm telling you now, you can be tough, but all of a sudden get surprised, which we show you some things about your brain here in a little bit that you're going to go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. So that's what drove this from being a hobby, and that's me in '92 in South Florida. Yes, I had hair.